we're sitting here and we're watching it in live time. So the failure of the media to accurately and systemically portray real facts is what leads to us not having an accurate historical record. So it's like we're actually not only suffering from the whitewashing of the history in the past, but we're watching it live time right now because it's basically lies of omission. Even if somebody were to say they're not flat out making things up, they're just not even covering it. And so this is what we're going to see, 100 years down the road is, will anybody even remember Julian Assange? And, this is exactly how that happens, that we end up with a history that does not reflect actual facts.
Yeah, I just want to hold up another book. Chris and I are both contributors to In Defense of Julian Assange. So if people want to know Julian's story, you should get that book.
Definitely.
But yeah, stuff, the truth has just disappeared or it's turned on its head. I mean, Julian Assange is a living embodiment of that. I mean, if you think about it, I've often say to myself, many people want to be well informed. They really do. So they think if I read the New York Times, if I listen to NPR, if I watch CNN, MSNBC, I know what's happening in the world, except they don't. You know what they want you to believe. And so you think that China's your enemy, you think Putin's a killer, you think all kinds of ridiculous things that are just fantasy. But they're the fantasies of people who want to keep you under control. So Hillary Clinton didn't lose because she ran a bad campaign. She didn't lose because she wanted Donald Trump to be her competition because she thought he'd be easiest to beat. No, she lost because of the Russians and she lost because of Julian Assange. And so this man who ordinarily would have support amongst some of the liberal class is instead hated and disdained, and people don't even, and most people I talk to don't even know why they're trying to extradite him. They think it has to do with this, alleged collusion with Russia, not that he revealed something that the U.S. didn't want revealed, and that there's an espionage act from the days of Woodrow Wilson, and Barack Obama used it more than anybody else to put people behind bars. And they have no idea that the United States is claiming it has the right to snatch anybody anywhere on the planet and put them on trial in Washington.
And even Obama, with his, Espionage Act trigger happiness, didn't go after Assange. So it's really rich watching these same liberals who praise Obama as being a constitutional lawyer and a nuanced thinker, and somehow they're siding with Trump and Pompeo on this issue. They're siding with Cheetah Mussolini, unprecedented existential threat guy.
Yeah, and Biden, who's copying everything Trump did when it comes to
right. And Biden is doing that. Right. Biden himself is siding with Pompeo and Trump, not with the guy who was president. What do you call him? A clean and articulate African American?
Yeah, whatever. Whatever.
He's the acceptable level of black. He was the acceptable presentation of black because it has to conform.
And that racist statement helped get him chosen as his running mate, which is even better.
Yeah.
Are there any? We interviewed Daniel Ellsberg on Useful Idiots the other day. Matt Taibbi and I did, and it was really fascinating because he talked about how people like to point to him now as a good whistleblower, so that they can denigrate Manning, Snowden, and Assange. In contrast. And it's true. People say disgusting things about Manning, Snowden, and Assange, and they claim to think that Ellsberg is a hero, yet their hero vehemently disagrees with them, which reminds me of what you guys were just saying about history. It's great. Maybe in how, maybe they'll have to go through Ellsberg time, decades later, maybe they'll be considered whistleblowers, so someone else can be vilified.
Well, Ellsberg suffered from the same kind of character assassination that is visited now upon Julian, and Chelsea, and Ed Snowden, and Jeremy Hammond, and Aaron Schwartz, and all these other courageous people that have attempted to shine a light into the inner workings of power. And of course, Dan remembers that. Look, I mean, the whole, Margaret can speak to this better than I can, but the whole mythology around Martin Luther King. I grew up in a small white farm town. Martin Luther King was one of the most hated men in America at the time he died. I mean, even his approval ratings among African Americans, I think, Margaret, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it was about 50% or something.
I'd say it was higher for us.
But it wasn't a more majoritarian. I mean, they'd so successfully demonized him throughout the country. And we forget the power of black propaganda. It's quite effective. And of course, that what makes Michael Ratner so prescient is that he knew precisely what was coming the moment the Iraqi war logs were met. You can read all that. He tells the whole story in his memoir, Moving the Bar. So of course Dan knows, but we sanitize these historical figures. We freeze them in time, as we have with King and his "I Have a Dream" speech, and in essence neuter them of their radicalism, neuter them of their courage, and then erase. We create this historical amnesia. So, I mean, boy, the FBI was trying to drive King to suicide.
Yeah.
The FBI was carrying out assassinations of black leaders like Fred Hampton and others. So, the history is, the version of history that we study is one that is written and supported that justifies or speaks to the supposed virtues of the ruling elites, and counter historians like Howard Zinn, or as he was, driven out of their academic posts or never given academic posts.
Yeah, that's what concerns me the most. That's what concerns me the most, is that this is going to keep getting perpetrated and that we're still not teaching proper history right now. We're not teaching proper history right now. I mean, Zinn should be required reading. This is I feel like we're not correcting it from the early ages where it really matters. We're not teaching it properly in the beginning. And I think that is a real problem.
Yeah, well, Chris just made mention of King's "I Have a Dream" speech, which, I think most people think he only gave one speech. They don't talk about him breaking with Lyndon Johnson over the Vietnam War a year to the day before he was killed. And while he did have near universal support from black people, that decision that he made, he broke with some of his colleagues, even his own father. They were like, "You can't piss off Lyndon Johnson. What are you thinking?"
I know that,
one of the more courageous acts of his life, and it's been disappeared. I call King's birthday the "Let's Pretend We Liked King When He Was Alive" day, because if you look at what the New York Times and the Washington Post said about him when he made that decision, it's nothing like what they say about him today. So, but I wanted to make another point about the corporate media. They're trying to silence us and censor us and deplatform us because they know there's a group of people who aren't going to shut up. There are a group of people who are not going to change what they say, who will tell the truth about Julian Assange, they and others. So that is why, and I know there's great disagreement, but I think it is a huge mistake for people on the left to think it's okay for Trump to have been deplatformed. That is my position. So their goal is to deplatform us all, and for once and for all, get rid of anybody who isn't going to go along with the official narrative.
It always harms the
I was
left.
against deplatforming Alex Jones, and he's a buffoon.
I was too.
Right.
Yeah.
Let a buffoon be a buffoon. I mean, the best way to counteract the information is with accurate information, not by deplatforming. So we just need to be louder.
And there are things that have to be done that we can work towards in terms of media. And, obviously the corporate media makes it hard, and various models make it hard to even get seen or heard. But yeah, we can't just let content moderation and censorship happen because we think that the people who they're targeting are the bad guys, as if they have some moral compass, as if like Silicon Valley is interested in the well-being and the best interest of most citizens. But just so people know, so Martin Luther King gave this speech where he basically condemned, because people probably don't know, a lot of viewers, where he condemned the war in Vietnam and talked about the triple evils of racism, imperialism, and capitalism. Yep. And was, it was so funny to see the headlines and the articles about him where they're like, this isn't really your thing. Your thing is civil rights. You should focus on that and not get into the economics of it. But Daniel Ellsberg also shared that he said he's very conscious of the fact that people are celebrating him in order to denigrate the current, more recent whistleblowers. And he also said that Malcolm Gladwell in the New Yorker had written this piece that was based exactly on that premise and tried to contrast Ellsberg with Snowden in particular. And Daniel Ellsberg wrote a letter, to the New Yorker. And presumably you would think that the New Yorker would publish a letter written by Daniel Ellsberg in response to a piece about Daniel Ellsberg. This isn't some anonymous, obscure figure. This is Daniel Ellsberg. And they didn't publish it. And Malcolm Gladwell, the genius that he is, and the New Yorker, the rigorous magazine that it is, he said that Ellsberg had served in North Korea. He'd been in North Carolina, so the first word was
easy
right.
Confusion.
Yeah.
Easy confusion. North Korea, North Carolina.
Yeah. So just.
Yeah. Well, this answers your previous question about why people like him don't defend Assange.
Right.
That's it. They don't want to be courageous, and they will tell lies. And and Ellsberg, people see him through this, rose-colored glasses. He was targeted by Nixon, who liberals didn't like. So. Right. But the attempt to crush whistleblowers was an Obama thing. So are you going to talk about, say anything negative about Obama? No, most liberals will not. That's a bigger issue of the country moving further and further to the right since that time.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.